Oireachtas. Deputy Leader, this morning, I listened to the Leader of the House on Morning Ireland this morning, and I'm conscious she's not here today, and I would obviously prefer to be directing my comments to her when she's here today. But with regards to the content of that interview this morning, everybody's entitled to express frustration about how an event is organised, but I very much believe that a line was crossed this morning. And a line was crossed because there was a description of an advocacy body in this country who gets state funding, and that state funding is secured so that they're an independent voice, so that they are a thorn in the side for government. But there was a suggestion that this body was a state body, and I suppose an inference that because it's getting state funding, that effectively, it should be doing, I suppose, following a line by government, and that is not acceptable, and it's crossing a line. And we know that the Women's Council has worked with people across all parties and none over many years. And if it is not for the work of the Women's Council, that we would not have seen so much social change in this country over many years. Because let's be frank, across all our parties here, right? And I'm very proud as a Labour Party member that men in my party have taken women's views seriously, but not every party here has taken, men in other parties have taken women's views seriously. And it's the work of the Women's Council, working with women of parties and none, but primarily as a voice on their own, that has led social change in this country. And I think to draw an inference with their funding, and we've already seen this, I raised it in this House with regards to drugs funding, drug task force funding, that when people who are on a drug task force were speaking out about the state policy, that there was veiled threats made about their funding. We also saw it with regards to An Taisce last year. So crossing that line and making out that independent bodies cannot be entitled to secure funding and somehow take a view at odds with the government is simply not on, and I think it's important to say that this morning.